They say a person's true character is revealed in the little things, the quiet acts no one sees. For Daniel, walking through the cavernous halls of the corporation his father had served for 40 years felt like a pilgrimage through a forgotten history. Beside him, the CEO, a man of tailored suits and sharp handshakes, looked strangely out of place in this world of humming machinery and faint oil scents. They were on their way to clear out his father's old locker, a final, somber task. Daniel led the way, his steps echoing a rhythm his father must have walked 1,000 times, past maintenance closets with their secrets, past groaning elevators and past the hulking shapes of old, forgotten machines. Each corner held a ghost, a memory Daniel couldn't quite grasp but felt in the air. He paused at a plain, unassuming door marked electrical room. It was a place most employees probably never noticed. Daniel knocked lightly, a gentle rap that seemed almost apologetic. The door creaked open and a sliver of bright, artificial light spilled into the dim hallway. A technician, a man with graying hair and a face etched with the lines of long days, looked up from a tangle of wires. His eyes, initially guarded, softened as they landed on Daniel. A spark of recognition flickered. "Hey," he said, his voice raspy. "You're Hale's boy, aren't you?" Daniel simply nodded, the word yes catching in his throat. The man's face broke into a sad, knowing smile. It was a smile that held years of shared shifts and unspoken understanding. "Your father," the technician began, his voice dropping to a near whisper, filled with a deep, profound respect. "Your father saved this building more times than anyone up in those fancy offices will ever know." He gestured with a grease-stained thumb towards the wall, a complex spiderweb of old and new wires. "See this whole section here?" He pointed to a neatly arranged panel that looked far more modern than its surroundings. He rewired half this room himself. "Had no formal training, just read some old manuals and figured it out. Said the old wiring was a fire hazard waiting to happen. He did it over a few weekends, off the clock. Never asked for a dime." He then pointed towards a massive, hulking piece of machinery in the corner, silent and dark. "And that old press? The company didn't want to pay to replace it. Said it was obsolete. But Hale knew we still needed it for certain jobs. He spent his lunches tinkering with it, ordering spare parts with his own money, piecing it back together until it ran like new. He kept that thing alive for 10 years past its expiration date." The technician shook his head in lingering amazement. "The man was a magician with machines. He wasn't finished." His gaze drifted towards a water-stained mark high on the wall, a faint memory of a past crisis. "And then there was the flood. A main pipe burst on the 3rd floor around 3 a.m. Water was pouring down, threatening to short out this whole room, which would have shut down the entire operation for weeks. The alarms went off, but by the time I got here, your dad was already on it. He was soaked to the bone, standing in ankle-deep water, just him and a wrench, methodically tightening a series of valves. He stayed right here until sunrise, long after the water stopped, just to make sure the fix held. He saved the company hundreds of thousands of dollars that night." The CEO, who had been listening in stunned silence, finally turned towards Daniel. His confident posture seemed to deflate, his face a mixture of shock and disbelief. "He did all that?" he asked, his voice barely audible. "All of it? Without ever telling anyone? Without filing for overtime? Without even a mention in his reports?" He looked at Daniel, searching for an explanation, for some logic that fit into his world of performance reviews and recognized achievements. Why would someone do so much for so little recognition? Daniel just shrugged, a simple gesture that carried the weight of his father's entire philosophy. He looked the CEO straight in the eye and repeated the words he'd heard his father say 100 times, a simple code he lived by. He said, "Why brag about doing what's right?" The words hung in the air, plain and powerful. It wasn't about getting credit. It wasn't about climbing a ladder or earning a bonus. It was about responsibility. It was about seeing a problem and fixing it simply because it was the right thing to do. It was about taking pride in your work even when no one was watching. In that moment, surrounded by the humming evidence of a life lived with quiet integrity, the CEO felt smaller than ever. His world was one of public victories, of shareholder meetings and press releases. Hale's world was one of hidden battles fought and won in the shadows, fueled by a sense of duty that asked for nothing in return. He thought of the modest pension, the standard farewell card, the life that had been summarized in a single, sterile HR file. None of it captured the man who had rewired rooms, resurrected machines, and single-handedly held back a flood. As they walked away from the electrical room, the technician's words echoed in the CEO's mind. He started to see the building differently. He saw the steady hum of the lights and imagined Hale's hands ensuring they stayed on. He saw the smooth operation of an old conveyor belt and pictured Hale tinkering with it on his lunch break. The entire building was a monument to this one quiet man. It was a living, breathing testament to a legacy of unseen work, of a profound and humble dedication. Hale hadn't just worked in the building. He had been its guardian, its silent, unsung hero. And the tragedy, the CEO realized, was that until today, almost no one had ever known. If this story moved you, please like, share, and subscribe for more content that celebrates the unsung heroes among us.